Everybody had gathered in Wilson Small's kitchen. Chairs had been gathered from around the house, and the comrades were seated, albeit squeezed together, around the table. They had teas and coffees, and there was silence, as each of them thought about the new terrors that had come to visit them. Wilson was the first to speak. He was visibly shaken. "I thought this was all over." He stared at Barraquil. "What is happening, Barry?" "I thought this was all over after Tabael was sent to hell. That we'd won." Wilson never noticed the puzzled looks from the others, the unspoken questions. But Barry noticed and moved on smoothly. "You mean what the teachings at the ceremony told us about the constant war between good and evil?" The question brought Wilson back to reality, and he nodded. "Yes. I thought defeating Tabitha meant we'd won, and that was the end of it." Barry shook his head as he looked around the table. All eyes were riveted on him. "If the scriptures are anything to go by, we were taught it was a constant battle." He looked meaningfully at Wilson. "The devil has to have a gateway, an opportunity, a way to get in." Wilson frowned. "An opportunity, a way to get in?" "Yeah. Yes. A portal between heaven and hell has to be opened." The others around the table were astonished at the conversation taking place. It was almost as if Barry and Wilson were talking of reality, not fable or legend. Barry continued. "A human has to open the portal." Wilson Small was thunderstruck. He suddenly realized that it had been him that opened the portal between heaven and hell when he tried to commit suicide. Superintendent Chapman interrupted Barraquil. "These legends of the church are all very well and interesting, Barry, but we need to find out what is actually happening in the real world. Berta here was attacked." He turned to Berta and his voice softened. "Can you tell us what happened in Norway, in your house?" Tears welled up as Berta thought back, and she spoke hesitantly. "I waited for 2 days. I hid in the woods, watching the house. I saw them leave and waited in the woods for 1 more day to make sure it was safe to go back." She had perfect recall of a memory she wished to forget, and tears started streaming down her face. "There was," Berta started sobbing, "so much blood." The others were silent as they watched her battle with her memories as she tried to regain control. She sat up straight and dabbed her eyes. "He had been cut up." Tears streamed down her face as she continued doggedly. "He lay there on the floor." A huge sob. "His legs and arms were separated from his body." Another sob. "He was in 6 pieces." Chapman was counting in his mind. 6 pieces. Bertha started to wail. His head. She couldn't continue for a moment as she fought to gain control. His head had been cut off and was placed in the middle of his chest. He lay on the floor with all his limbs separated and his head. Tears started to stream down her face again as she finished. His eyes stared at me. He was in 6 pieces. 6 manuscripts. Bertha Christensen screamed, and her senses left her as she passed out in a dead faint.